Guitarist and composer Augustin Barrios Mangore was a great man, and this tremolo piece is a great work of art. Its title, Una limosna por el amor de Dios, Alms for the love of God, hints at the piece's inherent spirituality, and its nickname, La Última Canción, the last song, reminds us that Barrios wrote this piece just before his death in El Salvador in 1994. I've loved this great tremolo since I was a teenager, working on my technique and dreaming of one day visiting Paraguay. And at the start of my very first visit to that country back in 2011, I was left at the side of a river and asked to wait with my guitar. We were in Villa Florida, Misiones, Paraguay, birthplace of Barrios. But my bewilderment grew as folks began to gather and we started our amazing journey to Barrios' house. Unbeknownst to me, there was a happy crowd of people waiting in the garden, and after speeches, harp music and dancing, I got to play my guitar, and as I played, I sensed the importance of Agustin Barrios to these people. I could feel their love and their respect for that nomadic, extraordinary man. The famous intro, fate knocking on the door, as the legend goes. The thing is that I have so much attachment to this piece. I know the kind of gravitas of those notes. Often I find myself playing the whole sequence twice. Don't do that. It's very naughty. I don't know what Barrios would say to me. Here is our first graphic. It's an extract from the start of the piece, which is available in its entirety to download as part of this lesson. The left-hand fingering here is of crucial importance, as a tremolo has to be fed notes in a very organised way. Preservation of the melody in the tremolo and the wonderful shapes in the accompaniment all had to be prepared and served up on a plate, ready for the right hand. So do study the fingerings on this sheet very carefully, make sure they work for the piece, and make sure they work for how you want to play the piece. Like each and every tremolo that you'll play, this piece is hungry for notes. You need to prepare meticulously with the left hand, and it needs to be legato. Your stream of notes that you supply to the tremolo must be unbroken, so it's just preparation. So this open B here releases my first finger. See that? My bar chord here, it's not really a bar chord, but it's there because I want it to go straight over onto that C natural. Ever so carefully, adjacent strings, B string, and that B natural there that you play on the G string. Replaced with an open string. This finger is ready for the bar, so you're really thinking ahead, you're visualising the next chord. It's very, very important, that kind of level of preparation. Once again, this graphic is to underline the way that the left hand has to prepare well in advance when playing a tremolo. Obviously, any piece will benefit from good fingering, but this is one step further. A good example is in bar 26 here. That's the top line, second bar. The first finger, as you can see, is playing a G natural, which is easy enough to reach from the previous fourth finger A. And as the bar progresses, think in slow motion here, the open B string enables a sleight of hand switch as the fourth finger takes over responsibility for the same G natural in preparation for the lyrical slide in the very next bar up to the F natural. This is joyful attention to the minutiae of left-hand fingering with the best possible musical payoff. So taking it from that diminished chord, I want to concentrate now on the dynamics of this situation. The situation is a glorious slide. This slide here, it's so beautiful, but it also involves a crescendo. So you got to keep control. You play the crescendo in a very controlled way. Don't get excited. This open B there has to be very neat. And you keep the dynamic back. And you make the slide, and as you make the slide, unless you think the slide is vulgar, which it kind of is, but it's also very beautiful. But as you make the slide, you got to every single fret. Keep the pressure and lovingly let each note speak as you slide. That's the secret to a slide. Leave slightly early. The sharp-eyed amongst you will spot that I'm playing appeando on that last note. So you can add those things into the mix. I absolutely don't want to dictate to you how to interpret this piece. I'm just showing you a few little expressive tricks that mean that you can go beyond the purring tremolo. Let your tremolo purr, let it be even, but also let it be flexible, and use those little inflections and expressive devices to make this instrument sound larger than life and vivid. That's the aim.
Here's another opportunity to focus on the left-hand detail. As with a lot of Barrios's music, it's the choice of string that creates that characteristic sound. He likes voicings that combine higher notes on lower strings, often with an open string in the centre of the chord. And if you scan this page, you'll straight away spot the string indications. Those are the numbers in circles, and they're all in unusually high positions and clustered together underneath the high tremolo. This is pure Barrios.
This is about articulation in the left hand now. The left hand's so important to producing a good sound. So this climb up leads to a descending sequence. Now the way I'm changing the nature of that phrase there, giving it real character, is by lifting and articulating with those fingers. I'm very, very careful that I'm producing a clean note. But I'm also trying to do more than that. I'm trying to introduce a feeling of control and tenuto, staccato, whatever. You can hear what I'm doing, but you do it with your fingertips. You've got to be ever so careful. Even that little extra pause on the D sharp. So the left hand can make a tremendous difference to the tone quality.
Okay, let's pause briefly to consider Barrios's modulation here to the tonic major. It comes halfway through this beautiful piece, and it is for me one of his most poignant moments. The switch from the intensity he managed to create in E minor to this new, somewhat more serene major feels somehow unexpected each and every time I play this music. As Barrios must have known he was nearing the end of his life, there is resignation, perhaps even surrender, in the addition of these four sharps. It was, after all, the last key change he was ever to write.
What characterises Barrios's music is the way that he uses the character of the different strings in such a definite way. He wants a note on that string and nowhere else. So this creates a few little interesting things you have to solve when you're playing a tremolo. Here's a little passage where it first goes into the major. Now this is typical Barrios here. The strange angularity of this little snippet of melody is beautiful, but it does have to take some doing, so you've got to be very careful with the adjacent strings, that you don't buzz and that you're very careful to articulate the shape of the melody. There's plenty to practice there.
So here are the final bars of Barrios's final work, La Última Canción. You can see here how the tremolo works its way upwards via a simple arpeggio of E before settling on the 12th fret, E, where it remains as a ringing ostinato under which the melody in the bass winds gradually downwards to its final chord. The end. Full stop.
This is a very powerful piece of music, and it really can cast a spell. So take your time with the ending. Be gentle and kind to anyone that's listening and guide them to the last note. Lots of flexibility. Take your time and articulate. Play it your own way, but take your time and never underestimate the power of this piece.